One of the first things I did in 2024 was really take a while and reflect on 2023. And specifically, I wanted to think about the life lessons I learned in 2023. What are some of the things that happened to me, the things I experienced that changed the way I think, that changed my perspectives, that I want to carry with me into 2024 and even beyond. So with that being said, today I want to talk about 5 life lessons I learned in 2023. So lesson 1 that I learned in 2023 is humans are creatures of worship. Choose what you worship wisely. So this year I got a lot more in touch with my religious beliefs, with my faith, and I started attending church a lot more. Religion's been something that's been in and out of my life since I was a kid. You know, I grew up going to church every Sunday with my mom and my sister. I went to Sunday school on Sunday nights. Grew up like that, and that's all I ever really knew. But growing up, it was always a chore. It was never something I looked forward to, never something I really took seriously. And because of that, when I went up to college, I kind of disconnected from my religious beliefs, from my faith. It wasn't really a part of my life. About halfway through my college career, I started attending church again. Instead of it being a chore, it was more of something I did that I actually enjoyed and looked forward to every week. It really helped me guide my life. It became really important to me. But similar thing happened when I left college and moved to Chicago. Again, I got kind of disconnected. Quit going to church. I didn't really put a lot of effort into my faith, which is something that is required. But in the second half of 2024, I found a church I really liked. I started attending every week, getting really involved in it and meeting the people of the church, and it really became a big part of my life. One of the most interesting things that I heard one day at church was the pastor was explaining how humans are creatures of worship. We're born on this earth, and just naturally we as humans worship things, whether that be a god, whether it be money or anything else in this world. And when he said that, I really had to think about what I was worshiping at the time. What he explains is that what you worship is kind of sets the guidelines for how you live your life. You know, the actions you take ultimately lead you to whatever you're worshiping. And so at this time in my life, when I heard that, you know, I didn't really know what I was worshiping, but I knew one thing for sure, that it wasn't God. You know, I think there were several points throughout this year that I was worshiping money. Money was the most important thing to me, making as much as I can. And you know, because of that, I was making decisions and taking actions that weren't necessarily positive and were potentially affecting others in a negative way. So I definitely don't think that was right. When he said that, it really made me think that that's such an important thing to focus on. When you worship these materialistic things or these hedonistic things, you start to lose control of your life. They cause you to act in certain ways that you normally wouldn't. And so just hearing about this idea of worship really put me in touch with my faith and really made me want to strengthen my religious beliefs, because I genuinely think that's one of the healthiest things you can worship, because when you're faithful to a religion, you act in that way, and in most cases those actions are for the betterment of humanity, for the good of people around you. So to summarize it, life lesson 1 from last year was be careful what you worship. We're naturally going to worship something, and I'm not saying it has to be a God. Maybe you don't believe in God, but just make sure it's something that's ultimately good in life and doesn't cause you to take actions that harm others and harm yourself. Life lesson 2 I learned in 2023 is you can never fail if you don't quit. This was a huge one at the beginning of the year because, as I've said many times before on this channel, the beginning of 2023 was a very hard time in my life. I just moved to a new city. My business was not doing well at all. You know, there was a lot of times where I was ready to give up. There was a lot of times where I was ready to call it quits and go the safe route and get a job. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but deep down I knew that wasn't for me. But I was really ready to quit, and I was really sick of the business, the stress, everything that came with it. You know, I always just reminded myself that I haven't failed until I've quit. Failure to me is a decision. This year made that so clear for me, because while it was so rough in January, February, March, and I was not doing well at all, I didn't quit. I kept my head down and kept working and completely turned things around. Imagine in February if I had just said, I'm done, I quit. I would be choosing failure. I would be choosing to be done, and as a result, the business and everything would have been a failure. I think that's important to keep in mind, that you really haven't failed until you decide to quit, and in that case, you've decided to fail. Life lesson 3 I learned in 2023 was environment is everything. And more on that Who you choose to surround yourself with, where you choose to live, and who you listen to will deeply affect who you become and the life you live. This was very apparent for a number of reasons. The first reason being environment. In 2022, I was living in Dayton, Ohio, which is where I went to college. You know, that city, I love that city, but there's not much going on there. It's a very dead city. It's very poor. There's just not much in the way of business and specifically like entrepreneurship. So there really wasn't a community I could be a part of, people I could connect with to help myself grow and to learn from. And so that was one of the best things about moving to Chicago, is the people I met, the opportunities that presented themselves, and the communities that I became a part of and am now building as well. There's no way to ever prove this, but I really don't think I would be where I am today as far as like progress I've made in business if I hadn't moved to a bigger city with a lot more going on and a lot more opportunities and resources. I think the environment is everything lesson also applies to people. So who you surround yourself with is going to dictate who you become and how much you progress. You know, before Chicago, I really didn't have many entrepreneur friends, which isn't a problem. I love my friends and I want friends that aren't entrepreneurs, but I think having friends that are entrepreneurs really pushed me and helped me learn and grow and be more motivated than ever to continue to progress and work hard. I have one friend and she has a product that's kind of in the sports space, and long story short, we were both trying to get our products into Dick's Sporting Goods, and there was a time where like I was kind of chilling, slowing down. I was making like decent money, so I was relaxing a bit, and behind the scenes she was just grinding away, and sure enough she got her product into Dick's, and I heard that and I was like, damn, I gotta get back on my shit and get back after it and grind again. So that's like a perfect example of environment is everything. Who you surround yourself with, where you live, and the people you talk to are gonna really dictate your life. Life lesson 4 that I learned in 2023 is only tell when asked and don't talk without walking. So this is kind of a two-parter. The first part being only tell when asked. You know, one thing I've really learned this year being involved in these communities of business people and entrepreneurs is people love to tell you about their accomplishments and achievements, and I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but there's a certain way to go about it, and that's definitely one thing that I learned and want to hold with me forever. The way I sum that up is only tell when asked. And so, you know, there's a lot of people that will come right out and tell you, oh, I made this much money last year, I earned this award, I did this, I did that, and there's nothing wrong with that, but I think it looks better when you come off with humility and people find out about those things in a more natural way. So say they ask you about these numbers, these accomplishments, and then you tell them. Rather than coming out forthright and telling them, you wait for them to ask and then you tell them. Because then it shows that you're not waiting to like flex on them and show how good you are, how far along you are, that you're humble enough that you don't need to tell them, but if they want to know, you're willing to. You don't seek that validation. You don't seek their approval. You're just confident in yourself, and it just looks way better when you carry yourself that way. It's not an easy thing to do because I know personally, like when I accomplish things or do something cool, like I want to tell people, I want to show it off, but I'm trying to practice that humility as much as I can, where it's just a lot better if people find things out naturally than you blasting it over social media and telling everyone you know. So that's the first part of that, only tell when asked. And then the second part is don't talk without walking. This is something that I've always really thought, but I've never really been able to sum it up in a sentence. But there's that saying where it's like, don't talk the talk unless you've walked the walk. That's kind of what this plays off of, don't talk without walking. This is about like telling others how to do something or what they should be doing or giving them advice. I'm very careful when giving advice or speaking my opinions on things because I want to make sure that I have the reputation and the experience to speak on these things. So you see it a lot where there's people online who give you advice and tell you how to do things and tell you which way is wrong and which way is right, but they don't have the experience to back that up. They haven't done anything in their life that gives them the credibility to say these things or give these opinions. So that's just one thing I really want to keep in mind for the rest of my life is I don't want to be giving my thoughts and opinions and advice on things that I really haven't experienced or don't know firsthand. So that sums up that rule, don't talk without walking. The last life lesson of 2023 Lesson number 5 is change is inevitable. Make sure yours is positive. So when I think back to January of 2023, the person I was freshly graduated out of college, was moving to a new city. And then I think about the person I was in December of 2023. It's unbelievable how different those two people are. The amount of growth, change, and challenges I experienced in 2023 was absolutely incredible. It was such an unpredictable year, but I think that created such an awesome opportunity to become a better person, to learn a lot about life, and really just grow wiser and become a better person. This is a thought that I came to with that, as you're never going to be the same person you were a month ago. I mean, you're always going to be changing with things you experience, people you meet, friendships you form. You're always changing, you're always evolving. But I think it's important to make sure that change is positive. If you're not careful, you could change in a negative way. You could become a worse person. You could become egotistical, full of yourself, and just pick up bad character traits that are not enjoyable to be around. So I think that change is inevitable, and it's just very important to make sure that your change is positive. Make sure you're continuing to pick up good habits rather than losing them and replacing them with bad habits. Make sure you're keeping up with your routines and everything you do that makes you a better person every day and keeps you disciplined. Like I said, I just don't think it's possible to stay the exact same person you were even a month ago. So it's important that you over the macro, you always try to keep that trend going upwards and becoming better and a more positive person and just improving yourself. So with that being said, those are 5 life lessons I learned in 2023. I hope this was insightful. I know we're a month into 2024, but I don't think it hurts to look back on 2023 and really think about what did you learn in 2023 that you want to carry with you this year and even years beyond. I don't think it's a bad idea to look into 2024 and figure out specific areas where you want to improve or learn more about yourself and just become a better person. So hope you enjoyed the video, and subscribe and be on the lookout for the next one.